Welcome, Tuesdays Live, all about do you need protein powder? Do you not? It seems to be everywhere in all the recipes, all the gym buffs are using it, even Stephen Bartlett's on it, but do you actually need the protein powder? That is today's discussion. But right now, let me know, how's your week going? We're only on Tuesday, but was Monday a bit chaotic for you? Was it a bit stressy? Let me know. And if you're on the replay or you're on the StreamYard, give it permission so I can see your name in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. I'm just going to move a pile of my stuff because it's about to topple over or create a mini earthquake. Do you need protein powder? Let me know how's it going, what is happening in your health, your fitness this week. Now, just notice I've done powder in here, but I've done power on Instagram. All good. Protein powder, power. Same but different, right? Do you need protein powder? All right, and the reason I want to discuss this with you all today is actually a discussion I was having with a client last night about Joe Wicks's recipes, and all of them have got protein powder in them, and what can you use as a substitute? And I also had someone pop into my DMs yesterday, which is not a bad person, but unfortunately they're selling supplement stuff, and it really bugs me that this company sells or uses agents, if you like, to sell supplements and run their own businesses selling supplements when they're not even nutrition qualified. So it just bugs the hell out of me. And they tend to do it as meal replacements. But they reckon that's because people don't have time, so they need to drink their calories. So yeah, all of that is against what I stand for. So if you've been following me for a while or you're new to my pages, you'll know I'm all about eating whole food and not having to rely on the supplements. And I want to cover that off today about protein, if you need it, if you don't, and when you would use it. All right, so let's get into it. First up, what is the point of protein powder? Ultimately, it first kind of came around in terms of, like all your guys at the gym, like your big bodybuilders and your athletes too. I mean, some training athletes do. It means that they'd be constantly eating all day long. So it wouldn't be practical for them to get an amount of protein they need for your chicken, your eggs, your fish, and for their muscles and bodies to recover. So ultimately, it's about body repair in terms of your muscles and how much you're training. So if you take that back and strip it back and think of that first up, so how much training are you doing? Are you doing a lot of heavy weight training? Are you a fitness enthusiast? You might be a weekend warrior. You could be doing competitions, triathlons. So it's that whole thing about how much training are you doing? So therefore, do you need it in terms of the benefits that can come from protein powder? So let's cover it off. What are the benefits of it? Well, it's easy to chuck in a scoop of protein powder into meals. It's easy to drink the shake instead of having a breakfast. So it's basic for those who have busy lifestyles and struggle to consume whole food protein. Now, my ethos would be that unless you're a weekend warrior, you're doing loads of different races at the weekends, and you're constantly training for an obstacle course, a triathlon, and you're consistently doing heavy training week on week, the chances are the average person working in an office or even at work and at home, if your job role is around laptop based, or if you actually do 2 or 3 training sessions a week, then the chances are you ain't going to be needing protein, and you need to be focusing more on getting protein from your whole foods. So as I said, the real purpose of protein is around muscle recovery, muscle growth. That's why you get your bodybuilders having it. And for some people as well, it is weight management. So when I say for some people, I don't want you to think about protein powders as a supplement to help weight control. Because as I said, weight control around protein is getting your whole chicken in, your whole fish in, your eggs. I speak about getting protein in across all 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I would encourage you to do that. And I think the mindset challenge comes in. It's when people start to replace whole foods with these powders. And I say that because I always believe that your teeth are there for a reason, and you should be eating your food, not drinking your food. And that's my personal view. Now, for some people who are vegans or vegetarians, it can be difficult, especially for vegans, to get in the volume of protein that they need without upping their calories, which is why you see a lot of vegans who are overweight, because they tend to struggle to get the calories in to keep themselves fueled. So they tend to snack a lot, or they end up with big portion sizes because their body's looking for the protein and they're not getting it in. So the only time I would say to someone someone is typically, if they're a vegan, about adding protein powder to their diet for that reason. So what are the disadvantages? So if we just recap advantages, quick and easy. If you're struggling to get all that protein in, if you're like a weekend warrior, you're a high performance trainer, you're an athlete, then protein powder is what they need to supplement with their whole food powder. And it's everywhere, isn't it? So it's easy to get hold of, and you can just down it and drink it. And the benefits of protein is around muscle repair and recovery. So what's the disadvantages of protein powder? Now, as I mentioned, the way I see it is these companies like Herbalife, Arbonne flog these products, have this, have that, and they flog it in order to help you lose weight because it's going to fill you. However, as again, there's that relationship where you then become reliant on drinking your calories. And they'll say, but oh, people are too busy to cook. So I'm sorry, but guys, if you're too busy to look after your health, that's because you're probably earning the money to pay for these expensive fancy supplements. I mean, the Arbonne one's ridiculous. It's hundreds and hundreds of pounds a month for their 30-day well-being kit. Oh, but it's quality. And you can tell they narc me. And I just hate the way that these companies say that you don't have time to cook, so here, buy my product. When in actual fact, you need to do a bit of rejigging in your life, and that's what I help people with. Rejigging your life so that you actually enjoy the food and you don't miss out on social occasions or meals with family because you're sitting there with a drink instead of actually having a meal. You've also got to think about the wider impact. If you have kids and they're seeing you drinking your calories, and that's how you lose weight and that's how you maintain health, what is it they're seeing? What are the behaviors that your children are seeing grown up with about whole foods and what that means? So yeah, I went on a bit of a bandwagon there. It just really frustrates me when I see companies who condone basically switching out. And I am a bit disappointed with Stephen Bartlett for that, because his whole product is that too. It's a meal replacement product, everything you need in a drink. Really, Stephen? Disappointing. Yes, he's making a shitload of money off it, but I just find it disappointing when actually, if you look back to the human body and how we're made, we've got teeth to use to grind our food because our digestive process starts in the mouth with saliva, our teeth grinding it down, and the way we absorb nutrients too. So I just think it's really disappointing that a number of these companies, obviously they're popular, of course, they're there for a reason, but do they last long term? Think not. Alrighty, so I've just basically ripped into about that one. You got me on the bandwagon about it. But ultimately, the disadvantages of it is, I say, these companies flogging it as an alternative to eating actual food. Super expensive for some of these company packages, and can mean you miss out on social occasions, enjoying food with families. There's also a lack of nutrients. So if you're just having protein, you're not getting the other nutrients that you contain in your food. And again, this is where a lot of these companies will peddle, oh, but we've got vitamins and minerals added to the protein powder, so it's a whole meal. But again, it's your choice. If you want to knock that out, go ahead, but it's not my bag, it's not my thing, it's not something I promote with clients. I believe nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Nutrition shouldn't be relying on expensive liquid drinks. In terms of digestive issues, so with protein powder, you get whey protein and you also get pea protein. Now, some people, these can cause bloating, gas, diarrhea. For me, I would say, yeah, they never fully agreed with me. I currently don't take any protein powders. The company I used to use way back when we lockdown moved to a pea protein, and the pea protein really doesn't agree with me. I get loads of bloating with it. And I just stopped using them a while ago because, one, I didn't enjoy them, and two, they never really agreed with me. And sometimes as well, they can have lots of the additives and sweeteners in them. So the quality of the protein powder can be a challenge, which again, these companies will drop on and go, we've got quality. But that doesn't stop your digestive system not agreeing with those things. So if you are taking these things, look at your digestion, like bloating, gas, diarrhea, runny stools, that sort of thing, after you have these things too. And as I touched on, the costs can be quite high for these products, especially if you're going for the high quality ones, in comparison to whole foods. So in comparison to your lean meats, your eggs, your dairy, your veg, your tofu, these products can actually be quite expensive. And I'd also say not just the cost, but think about what you enjoy actually having. Like if you actually miss having a meal and having a liquid shake. So think about actually your protein. I always say that food is to be enjoyed as a social thing. You're meant to enjoy your food. You're meant to grind it and use your teeth for it. So think about what you enjoy with food as well. And it's also, as I mentioned, the quality of this. A lot of these have the sweeteners in them that I personally want to stay away from. So it can be a minefield in terms of using a reputable brand. So like I say, as much as protein powder might be a benefit, generally I'd say go for the whole food protein. Do you need it? Unless you're doing challenges, training for triathlons, you're an athlete yourself, you're doing lots of training a week, and I'm not talking about going and hitting out the gym classes, I'm talking about endurance athletic training. So if you go for a run a couple of days a week, if you go to say 2 or 3 fitness classes a week, then protein powder isn't for you. And you can actually get the protein you need from your whole foods. And if you're cutting corners using protein powder, have a little think, have a little review. Because I myself got into the trap of every morning downing a protein shake because I had no time to have breakfast because I was getting up at like 5 in the morning. And I just had this over reliance on protein powder, and it wasn't really been good for my digestive system. So like I say, I got rid of them, and now I only eat the whole foods. And there's lots of recipes out there. Like I was saying, my client was mentioning Joe Wicks has got protein powder in everything. And what they'll do is to up the protein, they'll put the protein powder in, because you'll get anywhere between, depending on the 110, 190 calories for a scoop of protein powder, which is easier than upping the protein in terms of calorie volume. So that's what I mentioned about vegans. Vegans will really struggle for what the food choices they have to get the amount of protein they need within their calorie tolerance. So that's where you add in the protein powder. So really think about, what is it you want? If you're thinking about using protein powders, what is it you want to get from it? And if you're saying I'm short on time, I would challenge that one and say, really? Because you can prep food the night before. I even give clients recipes of things they can do: overnight oats the night before, breakfast muffins they can cook and stick in the freezer. There's loads of things that you can prep before that allows you time to eat proper whole food and not rely on the powders. So like I say, they are everywhere, which typically means people think they need them, but you don't actually need the protein powders. Okay, so what you need is your whole foods. So stick to your whole foods. I appreciate sometimes life gets busy, sometimes life gets chaotic, but don't become reliant upon these protein powders. They're there as a huge market, it's a huge industry that makes a lot of money, but tune into why it is you're using them. What is it that attracted you to them? Always think about your why. What is it attracted you to them? And do they actually work for your digestive system? How do you feel having it? Do you enjoy it, or you down it? It's awful. And what is it doing for your lifestyle overall? Is it preventing you enjoying life? Is it actually adding value? And are you spending a lot of money on these products when you could be spending a bit of time prepping your food, getting the chicken, the eggs in? All right, team. So that is a summary. Protein powders, they're there if you're an athlete. They're there if you're a triathlon trainer, if you're doing heavy training every week. But if you're an average Joe in terms of doing 2 or 3 training sessions a week, if you're somebody who's sitting behind a laptop doing, computer work, office-based work, you're not going to be needing your protein powder. You can get your protein from your whole foods, your chicken, your fish, your tofu. And unless you're vegan, the chances are that you're going to be getting enough of that from whole foods. And if you're using it for convenience and you become reliant on it, have a little think about what you can do with your schedule to make sure you're getting whole foods in, food that you can use your teeth for. Like I say, it has a place, but many people don't need it. An expensive supplement, minefield in terms of quality, a minefield in all the crappy diet plans that are out there and the companies that try to flog this to you. Somebody, use your teeth, have whole foods, and that's all you need for protein. And if you are an athlete and you're like, oh, I've been struggling a little bit with how much to get in, I might not be eating enough, remember, breakfast, lunch, dinner is your protein sources. And if you are hitting up the protein powder, then look at how much you're relying on that versus your whole foods. And any questions, give me a shout. Take care, team, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.